remember that when you founded the company, that was really exciting. I remember the time. I remember when I founded my company, it was very exciting. And by the way, things went so well. That's the case for you. That's the case for most of the company at the beginning.
It's always like, I think it's always like good to hear for others, like that is not everything is working for everyone.
What we did like badly in the beginning is that we asked a lot of people for their opinion.
Tons of fuck-ups, whether it's legal fuck-ups, product fuck-ups, or anything else. But we wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't done these steps, obviously. And
welcome to the Startup Story Podcast, where we interview entrepreneurs about their company. We want to give our listeners answers about the questions: how do I create my own startup? How do product ideas emerge? What tips can a CEO give you about his business? We tell you all about it. Today, 3 startup CEOs tell you about the mistakes they made at the beginning of founding their company and how a relaunch changed their mindset. Join us on our talk. BotTalk Podcast.
You touched upon, you changed the logo, but you also changed the perception of the company from your clients, as well as a perception inside of the company. Maybe you can touch on that dynamic. How does it change from the outside and from the inside?
Well, you've got the inside and the outside. So in the inside, it's about motivation. It's about existing. It's about just being excited again. So relaunch is really just to have the thing reexactable. Because you remember that when you founded the company, that was really exciting. I remember the time. I remember when I founded my company, it was very exciting. And by the way, things went so well. That's the case for you. That's the case for most of the company at the beginning. But after a while, there is this so-called fatigue, which is coming, which is completely normal. So then you do restart. This is what a relaunch is. And for the inside, it's a beautiful exercise. And if you have everyone in a startup participate to the relaunch, then everyone is again part of it. And for the inside, I would add, if you're constructing a company, especially if you're scaling up, you would have a lot of employees and colleagues and maybe partners who come after the foundation of the company. So that they haven't lived, the thrilling times of the debuting everything. So, and then you organize a new thrilling time is really the relaunch. So that's for the inside. Yeah. The outside is more obvious, I would say, because it's about marketing. It's about telling a new story. And if you've pivoted, you can tell the story. What I've seen for you, BotTalk, and for other startups who's made that exercise of relaunch, it's, hey, you get your act together. Because then everything is fine. I mean, you've gone through all the details. So your presentation are better, your storytelling is better, and you even come up to ideas like producing this podcast. So maybe you don't even open up to new ideas. So, and this is working on the marketing outside.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. When we talked first about the relaunching of BotTalk, I personally seen the necessity from inside the company, but it's also, I think, exciting. But in the beginning, was very scary to do that. As you said, well, don't touch your brand, don't touch anything. As soon as it's working, it could be worse. But I can attest that after relaunching, after changing so many things, after also, to be honest, like 90% of our staff is gone, and we have 90% of new people inside of the company, which is important also to take them into this journey. I feel, personally better than ever, and sure than ever that was important and also a great thing to do. And so thank you for your insights. Maybe a couple of insights. You said Space and Lemon relaunched exactly 1 year ago. What had happened in the year?
But first of all, we made a major change. We changed the name. So during the thrilling time of foundation, we had to find an original name for the company, which has its story in itself called Space and Lemon. But we didn't have the genre. We didn't have the category in it. So we're working with larger corporates, and it was really difficult for someone to sell us inside a company because no one knew what we do. So what we've done is we put the words innovations at the end, which is space and lemon innovations. And it's so easy and made a huge difference in what we say, because then we could shorten it up nicely in saying it's SLI, which just sounds great. You can boast about it. Oh, SLI, SLE, very nice. But then it solved a lot of things. And then from that point, a new proposition, we worked on a why and what. We work on visuals also to change the visual. We change the story. We change what we said, and above all, we told about changing it. Okay, so we made a point everywhere to say, yes, we are relaunching the company. What has happened is it's a better company today. A year later, we have better figures, we have better engagement with clients. But overall, what I was so fascinated about, and although I've been working on relaunch for years, I've seen it, it was a sign to our clients that we are a good company, that we are a successful company even. Because if you do a relaunch, it means, hey, well, they have a program for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And I really underestimated that did that job. And say, don't do relaunch because you're not well, but you do a relaunch because you're well and you want to be better for the next years. And this is what's happening with BotTalk. I would just see the same way, to say you made the relaunch, and it's a sign of strength in saying, if we make a relaunch, it's going to last for a few years. So we are well established, and we've got figures, which is the case, good investors and so on, which is the case for you. So that was really a surprise for me to say it has also this value of a relaunch.
You mentioned that there's a stigma around fuck-ups, that only the bright side of the story gets told. Well, you have a chance to maybe select one of your favorite fuck-ups that you can share with the audience in your journey. That maybe not the biggest one, but the one that will be fun to actually talk about.
Tons of fuck ups. I think. Well, the first fuck up I mentioned briefly before. We decided to build our first product as a desktop version. What a terrible decision in retrospect. It was a lot of money that we spent on building a desktop-based software, only to realize down the road that this didn't make any sense. We had our reasons. I mean, back then it was what the client wanted. They wanted to have a desktop. They had like very high security standards. They couldn't use web apps. And so on. But, in hindsight, this was a terrible decision and cost us a lot of money. Another fuck up, maybe just to give you another example, and we can dive deeper into one of them if you want, was our legal contract, in the founders structure. So, for example, in the first contract that we set up, we didn't take into account a proper vesting scheme. So people were more or less immediately vested and had their full amount of shares at the beginning, and that with one founder who had to leave again for personal reasons, that became a problem because we agreed on the terms and everything was fine, and we are still on very good terms, but the idea was that he would give back some shares as he left, keep a little bit of remaining shares, and then we would be able to redistribute those shares to new potential clients or investors. And the German law basically is pretty clear on this, that this is more or less impossible to gift shares. We made the mistake of thinking that this idea was so good and so great that we couldn't tell many people about it because it would get stolen, and it would be something that everybody would copy because it's just so great. And well, spoiler alert, pretty much no idea out there is like that special that people will quit their jobs and just do it themselves right off the bat. And also, this was one of the biggest problems for us, because what we missed out on was all the feedback from people telling us whether it actually is good or whether it's not so great. And that was one of the very, very early stages of the company. And so that idea that we had back then actually completely changed to how the product is now, because at some point we then ended up obviously talking with clients when we presented the product, and we talked about what it is and how it works. Luckily back then we didn't have invested that much yet, but we realized, okay, this direction is completely wrong. The core of the concept of what we're doing then, yeah, that was good, but we have to turn to another direction to really meet the needs of the market. And that's how then CutNut was born, with this new idea, where we then made the subsequent fuck up of building it as a desktop software. And yeah, so it really goes through, and obviously, these fuck ups are terrible and costly and never nice to do, but at the same time, well, for one, I think they're unavoidable. It is just how it goes if you're building your own business. If you have to take risks, and this is what happens, there's always a chance that it turns south. And obviously, there's a huge learning curve that comes alongside with it. A lot of things. I still believe, I'm a strong believer that you probably learn the most from your mistakes. I mean, that's nothing new, but I really can vouch for that statement, because I feel like in my life I've learned a lot from the mistakes that I've made, much more than from the things I've done right. Because obviously the things that you do right, you do them, it works, and you kind of sign them off. So in your head, you're like, okay, I can forget it. I did it. It was perfect. And you don't have to challenge yourself that much in kind of doing a post-mortem, if you will, like analyzing what went wrong. And so again, like summarizing for me, tons of fuck ups, whether it's legal fuck ups, product fuck ups, or anything else. But we wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't done these steps, obviously. And I also think it helped me grow a lot as a person and understand a bit much more how to approach topics and how to deal with these situations in general.
You have now 2 years of startup, and you have another. We already said that you're not from the business part. So, do you have any fuck ups or challenges? Would you a story what you can tell? I think it's always good to hear for others that it's not everything is working for everyone, and this is taking a bit of the fear of just starting a startup and doing when you have an idea, just try it out and see what is happening.
I think I don't have a fuck up situation in my mind. Let me think about it later. But what we fucked up, or what we did badly in the beginning, is that we asked a lot of people for their opinion. A lot of people, and had a lot of meetings and calls and stuff like that. Most of the time it was interesting and what is good to ask them, but we in the beginning we didn't ask our customers and users enough. And there are a lot of experts out there, but the real expert is always your user or your customer. And that's something we put a lot of time into, talking with a lot of experts, a lot of people in our network. We did that too much, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so just some friends, what their opinion is,
for sure.
or a professor from the university. What do you think about this?
And they have a lot of ideas, and they are all great. But you have to decide what's the next step, and therefore it's always good to ask your customer.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the one who's paying you, or the user. That's the one who uses your product. So this is I think crucial.
Yeah, this is also actually I studied startup management, and this was just the focus what we learned in the study. Always go to your customers. My professors always say, don't stick in the office, go to the jungle and talk to the people, because this is the sense what you need actually for good product.
Yeah, I'm 100% with that. Yeah, and this was our beginning, and I think even if I don't know or I can't remember this crazy story fuck up situation, I think we made so many little fuck ups every day, still do, because it's something new. That's the definition of startup. You build something new, hasn't been done before. So you will make failures, fuck ups, or if you think about positive, it's like learning